All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Light podcast. I think that I have finally figured out what the new I think I've finally figured out what the new strategy is going to be for this podcast. So when I finished the 365 days in a row thing, uh, I made it clear on the podcast that I think one of the reasons that I was able to do 365 consecutive days of podcasting is because it was 365 straight days. You know, there's something about giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room that makes it easier to skip, or it makes it easier to not be so absolute about it. But when you commit to doing a podcast every single day just literally every single day, there's no wiggle room. There's no way out. You can't leave. There's no room for excuses. Like if you're having a bad day, if you're tired, you're beat, whatever, like you just have to do it because there is no wiggle room. Like when you're like, I'm only going to do 3 podcasts a week. It's like when Tuesday rolls around, it's like, I could do it tomorrow. So with that being said, what I think we've come to the conclusion of is that it really does have to be every single day. If I'm going to really commit to doing a podcast over and over and over again and actually do this thing, I have to do the podcast every single day. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the podcast live, or we're going to record a podcast every single day somehow, some way. I think every single day except for Tuesday and Thursday are going to be quick hitters. We're going to do them live on TikTok, which we're doing right now. What's going on, everybody, here on TikTok? I can't look at the screen here, right? So I have to look like slightly above the camera. And the reason is because there's so much stuff going on the screen. People are coming in, people are leaving. And the last few times that I've done a lot of TikTok lives, I get so distracted by everything. So what's going on? I can't look at you, as weird as that is. But I can't look at you, but I appreciate you guys being here. If there's anybody here, drop some stuff in the comments. Maybe at the end, I'll scroll through to see if there's any questions, and we'll get it there. For those of you on TikTok, this is the Sean Light podcast. Listen to it anywhere you want. Maybe not anywhere you want. There's probably podcast places that this doesn't exist on, but the big ones: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. I think that's the thing. But I digress. So we're going to do this every single day. And we'll do these quick hitter podcasts, kind of like we did during the 365 day journey. Do those every single day. And then on Tuesday, I want to do interviews. Okay. I already have a bunch stockpiled. I was with my guy, Neil Hallonen, this weekend. Hadn't seen him in a while. And he actually asked me, I did an interview with him like months ago. And he was like, hey, was I ever on your podcast? I was like, no, you weren't. The reason is because I've been waiting to get this thing going. I've been waiting to figure out what the new strategy is going to be on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately, as much as I wanted to deny it, the daily podcast is the answer. Otherwise, just inconsistency is inevitable. So I have a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of interviews that are stockpiled and ready to go. I just have to commit to getting them out there. So I think Tuesdays we're going to do the interview podcast, and then on Thursdays I want to do more of a deep dive for you. I don't want to do a quick hitter. I want to prepare. I want to talk about stuff that's going on in the news, stuff that's going on in the world. I want to really develop a podcast as I look into the future of my life, look into the future of what my business is going to be like. I really want to develop the podcast as a real central focus for just the community of what Weight Room Wealth is all about. I'm even considering changing the name of this podcast to the Weight Room Wealth Podcast, because I want to really bring that home. I love everything about the business. I love everything that we're doing, really helping people out, and I want to do everything I can to cultivate an amazing culture and enterprise here through the Weight Room Wealth system. So that's what I want to do there. Okay, so podcast every single day. Tuesday will be the interviews. Thursdays are going to be deeper dives. Even as I say this, it just feels right. It just feels good. So I'm grateful to be able to do that. I'm grateful for everybody watching. I'm grateful for everybody listening. And I'll actually say this. As I was meditating earlier, I had this thought. Business, unfortunately, as much as I would like to say that it did, business did not come easy to me. Business was a challenge for me. I thought getting customers was going to be easy. I was a former Lakers strength coach. I thought business was going to be easy. I really did. And it wasn't. It was really tough. Acquiring customers was really tough. Anybody acquiring viewers, followers, likes, comments, it's all really hard. And I experienced it every single day for years, even though I tried to pretend that I wasn't. It was really, really difficult. And that anybody would listen, that anybody would follow, that anybody would be here with me, that anybody would be listening to the podcast, watching the live. I want you to know on like a couple levels that like I have a lot of gratitude for that. I think I'm so grateful that you're here because it was so hard, my journey to get here to this point, that anybody would be listening. The fact that you're listening right now is amazing, and I'm grateful for it. But the other reason I want to tell you that is because I know how fragile your attention and your trust is. And I know that if I violate it, it takes nothing, especially in today's world with all this content overload. It takes nothing for it to go away. So I want you to know that gratitude and that appreciation in my journey has led me to the point where I'll do whatever I can to really like feed this hour as much value as I possibly can. I'll do anything I can to make this worthwhile and to not take your time or your trust for granted. So everything that we do, we're going to just keep pushing and keep going and keep going and keep going. So that's what this is about. Okay. So today's going to be a quick hitter lesson. Okay. So for those of you who are watching here on TikTok, again, for those watching TikTok, I cannot look at the screen because there's so much that goes on. There's so many like comments, people leaving, people coming in, and I just get super freaking distracted. So if you have any comments or questions, I'll hit them right after this lesson. It'll be a quick 5-10 minute lesson. And then I'll hit any questions that you have afterwards. But again, I can't look directly at the camera or the screen because I'm just going to get super distracted. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. Okay. And again, this is the Sean Light podcast. Find it anywhere. Just find it on the internet. You Google, you find it. Okay. So what I want to talk today about is the law of sowing and reaping. I listened to a guy, one of my mentors from afar for many years now has been Tony Robbins. And I've really just appreciated everything he does. I really feel like he's got these things figured out. And he's always talked about his mentor, who was a guy named Jim Rohn. And I think kind of like as the Tony Robbins fan that I was, I never dove into Jim Rohn because it's like, well, Tony's probably a better version of Jim Rohn. But I had an Audible credit. And there was an 11-hour, the best of Jim Rohn on Audible. And I didn't really have any other books that I wanted to download. So I went in and I downloaded this book. It's more of a collection of speeches, but I have found the stuff to be rather profound to start. And this story was, I mean, it really hit home for me, especially as I have elaborated on the challenges of running a business. This really hit home for me, and I want to share it with you guys right now. So the law of sowing and reaping goes like this. For the person who is out there sowing their seed, okay, and I want you to picture somebody in a field just planting their seed. And this is an entrepreneur, right? We're out there like right now, like I have this philosophy of the science of business, the science of achievement. I've created this business that revolves around entrepreneurship and productivity and developing energy and developing focus and how we can turn all of those things, the science of those things, into profit inside of a business. We have 3 prongs to what we do. It is energy, it is focus, and it is creative strategy, simple creative strategy, right? So I've created this business, and I'm going to go out, and as I am right now on this podcast on TikTok Live, and I'm sowing that seed. I'm just planting it. I'm out here planting it. But when you first start sowing your seed, the birds are going to get some. All right. And Jim says, well, what do I mean by that? Right. When I first started my business, started running webinars. I thought it was a cool way to get people in, to get people to listen, to sow a little bit of my seed. But what I quickly found out was that if 100 people sign up for the webinar, only 30 people are going to show up, right? I found that 50% show rate on a webinar is incredible. And it's just hard as hell to get people to do that. And you wonder, like, why would you sign up? Like, why would you sign up, go through the trouble, get the email, confirm the email, join the Facebook group, do all these things, but never show up to the webinar, right? And Jim says, well, the birds got it, right? And if you aren't careful, you'll end up chasing birds. And that really resonated with me because that's what everybody does is when they try to get people in and people don't show up, they look directly at the marketing strategy and they're chasing those birds like, well, I need to handle the birds to get these people in. But Jim says the best answer to that is that's just the way that it is. He says, don't sign up for that class. He says, you could see that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west every single day. But don't start asking questions as to why that is, because that's just the way that it is. Don't sign up for that class. It's just the way that it is. And with people, with human nature, it's just the way that it is. So in the beginning, when you first start sowing your seeds, the birds are going to get some, right? And then as you continue to sow your seeds, the seeds will inevitably land on some dry, infertile soil. And they'll start to grow a little bit, and all of a sudden they'll die. Right. So that to me reminded me of people that, you're having conversations with a prospect, everything starts going well. And then all of a sudden, crickets. You said maybe a call to action. You should sign up for this, download this. Crickets, nothing. They're gone. It was growing a little bit, and now they're gone. What happened to them? Right. Well, those seeds landed on some infertile, arid, dry soil. They're gone. It's just the way that it is. And if you're not careful, you'll start looking for a different plot of land, some different soil. You'll start saying, my market isn't good. My marketing strategy isn't good. The people, the industry that I'm focusing on isn't good. I got to change. And you'll stop sowing your seed. Right? So the third one, he says, well, sometimes you'll find some good ground, start growing, and then the thorns will get them. Right? And that reminded me of when you have these really good conversations. I've had conversations with prospects. I've literally had conversations with prospects, and they're like, I'm going to buy your thing. I send them the link to buy it, and I never hear from them again. What happened to those people? It's just the way that it is. The thorns got them, right? And you wonder, you're like, well, what did I do? And you could drive yourself crazy trying to fix that problem. But Jim says it's just the way that it is. It's no use signing up for that class because that's how humans are. But eventually, if you keep sowing your seed, you eventually land on good soil. And Jim says it's about 30% of the market, whatever, is the quality soil. And those things will grow big and strong. But what most people do is they stop sowing their seed before they get to the good soil. They're out chasing birds, looking for new plots of land, new plots of soil. And every time they do that, they have to start all over. And the moral of the story is don't leave the fields. Don't stop sowing your seeds. Okay. Eventually, if you have a good idea and you sow those seeds long enough and you stay focused, you don't worry about those things. You don't worry about the people that don't show up. You don't worry about the people that dropped out, and you just keep sowing your seeds. Eventually, you'll land on the good soil and your business will be able to grow strong and big. How about that? See what we got here. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson for everybody here. I'm going to check I'm going to see if there are any questions here on TikTok. If anybody has questions, happy to answer. Doesn't look like anything. Doesn't look like it. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, we have been doing this live on TikTok quite a bit, and we've gotten a pretty good amount of engagement. Now we've gotten a lot of people to view it, so I've been very excited about that. So thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. That was the Sean Light Podcast. This is the start of the new round. Thanks to everybody here on TikTok. Grateful for you all, and we'll see you back here for the next one. Have a good day, everybody.